Hey everyone, welcome back to Theos Bible Kids. Today, in this episode, we have 4 S's. 1 is scripture, 1 is song, 1 is story, 1 is study. This episode is all about Jacob. Jacob and Esau, Jacob's ladder, Jacob, Leah, and Rachel. Let's go! Theos Bible Kids! Hey guys, welcome back to Theos Bible Kids. And today we're going to be doing Bible verses with my little brother. Say hi everyone. Okay Theo, do you want me to read the first verse? Yeah, okay. And the Lord said to her, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 peoples from within you shall be divided. The one shall be stronger than the other. The older shall serve the younger. Genesis 25:23. Did you like that one? Okay. Do you want me to read the next one now? No. Yeah? Yeah! Okay. And behold, the Lord stood above it, and said, I am the Lord, the God of Abraham, your father, and the God of Isaac. The land on which you lie, I will give to you and to your offspring. Genesis 28:13. All right, we got one more Bible verse. So Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed to him but a few days because of the love that he had for her. That was a really short one. Genesis 29:20. Thanks for reading the Bible with us. Say bye. Bye-bye. Theos Bible Kids.
Okay, do you girls remember when we were talking about Abraham and how he had to sacrifice his baby Isaac?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
No. Yeah.
Do you remember that? Okay, so remember how Isaac didn't get dieted, but but God saved him. Okay, do you remember that? Well, he grew up. And this is Isaac when he grew up, and he was like, his mommy just died because she was old. And so he was sad.
Was she 99?
I don't know, she was really old. And so he was like, he's like, I'm so sad. And so then he went on a journey, and he needed to go find a wife. And so he sent his servant away to go find a wife from this land where his family was from. And so this princess came back, and her name was Rebecca.
No, her name is Anna.
No, it's Rebecca.
Anna.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Nana. Rebecca Nana. And so she came, and he was like, oh, that girl's pretty. I want her to be my girlfriend. And Rebecca was like, hello. And so he's
Wait.
Yeah, what?
Maybe we should do Elsa because she's prettier.
No. Rebecca's so beautiful. And he was so in love. He's like, oh, I'm so in love.
You know it's Anna. In the movie, it's Anna.
Yeah, in the movie it is, but in my story, it's Rebecca. Thank you very much. Okay? So then they're like, oh, I'm in love.
Anna.
And so then they went on a date on the beach. And then they went on a date at McDonald's. And then they went on a date at a pool. And then they had a baby. And then they had another baby. And they had these 2 babies named Jacob.
And Moses.
This is Jacob, and he's got his brush, and he's like, He's kind of like he's like a stay-at-home kind of guy. And then this is Esau, his other brother.
Why is he hairy like Chewbacca?
Because Esau had a lot of hair on his body.
Wait, Uncle Nate.
What?
Do Justin Bieber brush this monster's hair?
Oh, yeah, like that? Yeah, so Jacob and Esau were brothers, but this Esau was really hairy, and Jacob wasn't hairy at all. He was like a little baby boy, and he would like be brushing Esau's hair. He's like, oh, can I brush your hair? And Jacob like hung out with his mommy a lot, but Esau hung out with Daddy, and he liked to go and hunt things, and he liked to kill things and eat animals, like and he'd like do cool karate kicks, yeah. And Jacob was like, I'd like to play Fortnite and stay home.
I love Fortnite. Me too.
Okay, so listen to this. So then one day, their daddy was getting old, and he was, where is he? Their daddy. Isaac was getting old. There's Isaac, and he's getting old, and he was laying down, and he was about to die, and he was like, okay, I want to.
Wait, Uncle Nate.
Yeah, what?
pretend when he died, he said, "Oh, I'm about to poop in my diapers."
Yeah, that's true. He's like, "Oh, I'm about to poop in my diapers," and he's like, "Send my boys in. I want to say goodbye to them," and see, because he wanted to pray over them before he went to heaven. And but the mom, she came over and she said,
"He's underpants!"
She said, listen. The mom said, "Jacob," she's like, "Esau, he's gonna get all the special prayers, and he's gonna get the blessing, and he's gonna have all of the good stuff." Because back in the day, whoever was the oldest son would take all of the father's stuff.
Uncle Nate.
Yeah?
Why was Elsa there?
This isn't Elsa. This is.
Is.
No, you're right. This is Rebecca. Yeah, and Rebecca's like, she's like, "Hey, you got that." And so she gives Jacob this plan that he's going to pretend to be Esau. And so she's like, "Okay, you need to wear a bunch of hair." And so then he put hair on himself to make him look like Esau. And so he went in, and Jacob's like, "Who's there?" Because he was so old that he was blind. He couldn't see. And so, "I'm your son, Esau." And he talked like, "I'm your son, Esau." And he was like, "Well, let me touch you. Let me touch you to make sure that you're hairy." And so he's touching him, and he's like, "Oh, that's very hairy." And he's like, "I tricked him. I tricked my dad." And so the dad prayed, and he said, "Okay, I bless you, and you can have all of my things." And then he left, and he went away. And then
Wait, Uncle Nate, pretend Justin Bieber said, "Oh, I have to go in timeout."
Oh, yeah, he went in timeout. Okay, so then Esau came in, and he's like, "Okay, Daddy, don't die. Give me my blessing." And he's like, "What? Who are you? I thought you were Esau. I already prayed for Esau." He's like, "What? That tricky guy, he took my blessing."
Pretend that guy punched him in the face.
Like this? But he missed because he's blind.
No, I mean this guy.
Oh, no, because this is his dad. He's like, he went away crying. He's like,
wait, monster.
See, now listen. Wait, sit down.
I need to tell the monster something.
Okay, tell the what? What do you need to tell the monster?
Monster, I really like you, and do you want to be my friend?
Yes, I would like to be a friend, but only if you eat all of your food at dinner time, and you obey Mommy and Daddy, and you stop scratching Frankie in the face.
Okay, and guess what, Esau?
What?
I'm going to make you a monster play date.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so listen, this is what happened in the story, Georgie and Frankie. What happened was Jacob stole Esau's birthright.
Meanie.
Yes.
Meanie pants, poop pants.
Yes, and he tricked his daddy. Into giving away the birthright. Now, here's Jacob.
Okay.
And this is.
That's actually Justin Bieber.
I know, but this is years later, okay? And he was a tricky guy. And his whole life he was really tricky. In fact, do you know what Jacob means? His name means tricky guy.
Tricky guy?
Mm-hmm. He was a tricky guy. That's what his name means, tricky guy. Imagine having a friend at school and you're like, "Hey, hi, my name is Georgie. What's your name?" And they're like, "I'm tricky guy." And Jacob was walking around in the desert. And he's on a journey. And remember, his name was Tricky Guy. And the Lord appeared to him, and the Lord was telling him, "Hey, Jacob, you're a cool guy. I like you, and I'm gonna bless you." And Jacob's like, "No, hold on, don't go anywhere." And he started to wrestle God, and he's wrestling him, and he's like, "Don't go. I won't let you go until you bless me." And he's like, "No, I gotta go." And then he's like, "Argh!" And they wrestled all night. And they wrestled all night. They were wrestling, and then God said, "Because you wrestled, then I'm gonna bless you." And that's the end of our story.
No, I want more.
You want more? Okay, I'm gonna give you one more story.
Yay!
Jacob married 2 sisters.
You can't do that.
It's
That's illegal.
I know, but that's what they did back in the Bible. Can you imagine having the same husband? It was really mean. And Jacob married these 2 girls, and one girl's name was, this was Rachel, and this was Leah.
Wait,
Look,
wait.
sit down.
Wait, can
Sit down. Sit down. Sit down.
Wrestle him!
No. Sit down. Okay, hold on,
I need
Georgie.
him for a sec.
1 second, I'm trying to tell you a story. There was these 2 sisters. What happened was, when Jacob married, it was really dark, and so he thought, he was in the dark, and he's like, oh, this is my wife. And so they went to sleep at night, and he thought that he was married to this girl, but really he was married to. And so then they woke up in the morning, and he turned the lights on, and he goes, ah! And she was like, isn't that funny?
Yeah.
And Jacob was like,
Give me that guy.
wait, Jacob was like, who are you? And Leah was like, and he's like, you're ugly. And she's like, no, look. And he's like, I'm getting out of here. I didn't marry you. I married Rachel. and she said, no, listen. And then she was like, here, hold on to her. And so then look, and he was like, I gotta be married. Well, yikes. He's like, I gotta be married to you and to you. And she was like, and she was like, and he was like, ah! And so, you know what? You know what's really sad? What's really sad was, who do you think Jacob loved?
This girl.
Who did Jacob love more?
This girl.
Georgie, who do you think he loved more?
I think he loved this girl
It's
and
true.
this girl.
Why did he like this girl more?
Because she was more beautiful. Wait.
That's right. He loved this girl more because she was more beautiful.
Wait.
But you know what? This girl, she because this girl was unloved, her name was Leah, and she was ugly, and she was like, and Jacob didn't love her. The Lord made her very, very, very pregnant all the time, and so she had so many babies. But this lady, she didn't have that many babies at all. She only had like 2. But she had so many, and it was the way that the Lord, because God doesn't like it when people are not loved.
Belly.
God doesn't like that.
But this is a really long episode. I don't think we should be doing it this long.
I know, but you asked for more, and if you ever ask for more, there's more.
Give me that girl.
Theos Bible Kids.
Heaven's stairway, angels walking up and down. God loves this place where we meet with Him and say, you are
Hey Theos Bible kids, welcome back to episode 5, and make sure you like and subscribe these videos for more. This week, we are in Genesis chapters 15 to 29, and we're gonna zero in on the life of Jacob. So Isaac, who was the son of Abraham and Sarah, as we mentioned last week, marries Rebekah. Together, he and Rebekah have 2 twin sons, Jacob and Esau. Esau was the oldest son, and he was a hunter, and the Bible describes him as being very hairy. And Jacob, who was the younger and gentler, more handsome son. When they came out of their mother's womb, Jacob was clutching Esau's heel. And the prophetic word that was spoken over the 2 of them in Genesis 25 was that the older one would serve the younger. One day, Esau came in from hunting and he was very hungry. And Jacob said, "Hey, Esau, I'll give you a bowl of soup if you sell me your birthright," which belonged to the firstborn son in that time, meaning that he would inherit all of his father's land, wealth, and possessions. So Esau did, because the Bible says that Esau despised his birthright. It was like having to inherit the family business, and he really didn't want to have anything to do with it. So he promised Jacob his birthright because he despised it. So he was careless towards his birthright, and it didn't mean much to him. Now, their father Isaac was very old and likely to die soon. The scripture tells us that Esau was Isaac's favorite son and that Jacob was Rebekah's favorite son. Not fair parenting, but that's the way it was. So Isaac calls for Esau and asks him to make him his favorite stew. And they were discussing his inheritance when Isaac would die. And back then, firstborn sons got all the good stuff when their parents died. So Jacob really wasn't standing to inherit very much. Now Rebekah, Isaac's wife, was listening in on their conversation, and she tells her favorite son Jacob to dress up like Esau and to put hair on his arms and disguise himself like his brother, his hairy brother. And then she says, "I'll make Isaac's favorite stew, and while Esau is out hunting, and you can go into Isaac, Jacob." And then Jacob would see his father, and his father would give him the inheritance rather than Esau. So she made this whole plot to lie to her husband Isaac. And that's just what happened. But when Esau and Isaac learned of Jacob's deception, they were so angry. And Isaac shook, like he trembled physically. But didn't Esau already promise this birthright to Jacob anyhow when he sold him the bowl of soup? But still, Esau planned to kill his brother, and so Jacob had to flee. You see, their father Isaac knew, because of this prophecy that came over the children in Genesis 25, that God had intended the blessing and the inheritance to go to Jacob right from the beginning. But Esau was Isaac's favorite son. So Isaac was troubled because he knew that he had tried to work against the plan that God had already revealed to him, and God had beaten him to the chase. So at this moment, Isaac realized that he would always lose when he tried to resist God's will, even when he didn't like God's will. And that's similar with you and I. We will always lose when we try to resist God's plan for our lives. The next story that we come across in these chapters is the story of Jacob's ladder. So Jacob goes back to his mother's family at Haran, right? Because he has to flee, because Esau is trying to kill him. And so his mom says, "Go back to my people." And in this desolate wilderness, Jacob had a very significant dream as he used a stone for a pillow. That sounds comfortable, hey? You can only imagine the strange feelings that he had as he was traveling by himself back to his grandfather and his mother's family. He had fear and perhaps loneliness, and he probably felt isolated, but also somewhat excited because he had just stood to inherit his father's inheritance. And this was an important time in Jacob's life. For the first time ever, he was going out on his own, and he had received the blessing of his grandfather Abraham. Remember that blessing? It was very powerful. And in this dream, there was a ladder that was set up on the earth, and its top reached all the way to the heaven. And there were the angels of God ascending, which means going up, and descending, which means coming down. And this whole dream meant that there was now access to heaven. Jacob knew God was closer than he ever thought before, and that there was real access and interaction between heaven and earth. It was a spiritual awakening that he had. Then, after that vision, God started to speak to Jacob. You see, before, Isaac had told Jacob that the covenant and the promise and the blessing was his, even though he lied about receiving it. But now, it was the voice of God that came to Jacob to confirm that blessing and that covenant promise. And God promised him land, a nation. He said, your descendants shall be as the dust of the earth, just like he said to Abraham, and a blessing. And he said, in you and your seed, all the families of the earth shall be blessed. Then God promises Jacob his presence. He says, behold, I am with you, and I'm with you, and I will keep you wherever you go, and I will bring you back this land, for I will not leave you until I have done what I have spoken to you. Surely the Lord is in this place, Jacob says, and I didn't know it. Jacob was right in sensing the presence of the Lord there. If he thought that God was in some places but then not in others, he was wrong. Because the truth about God and how God revealed himself to Jacob in that moment was that he is omnipresent, which means that he is everywhere all at once. You see, there's no other created beings on this earth that have that ability to be everywhere at once, not even our enemy, the devil. Remember, Satan is a dog on a leash. So Jacob takes the rock that he was using as a pillow and he sets up an altar and he worships the Lord in that place, and he called the place Bethel. Now Bethel would play a very significant role in the nation of Israel's history, and it was considered second to Jerusalem in the Old Testament. The next story that we come across in these chapters is the story of Jacob and Rachel. So after his dream and the blessing that Jacob receives, he finishes his journey to Haran, and he stops at a well where he meets Rachel. And this woman is a distant relative of his. And Rachel brings Jacob to meet her father Laban. This is kind of a similar story as to how his parents met. Laban says to Jacob, because you're my relative, should you therefore serve me for nothing? Tell me, what should your wages be? Now Laban had 2 daughters, and the name of the older daughter was Leah, and the Bible describes her as having weaker eyes. And then the name of the younger one was Rachel, and Rachel was more beautiful. It says that Leah's eyes were delicate, and that Rachel was beautiful of form and appearance. Now, Jacob loved Rachel, so he said, I will serve you 7 years for your daughter Rachel. Now, Laban says to him, it is better that I give her to you than I should give her to another man. So he makes this agreement with Jacob. So Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed only a few days to him because of the love that he had for her. Now the problem was that Laban ended up switching the daughters. He switched Rachel for her sister Leah on their wedding night. Now that tradition held that they would have their faces covered until their wedding night, and of course they would have seen each other at night, and so he wouldn't have known that it was the wrong daughter. Laban's deception towards Jacob was similar to the deception that Jacob used on his own father Isaac and his brother Esau. This is an example of Jacob reaping what he had previously sown. Jacob exchanged the younger for the older, and Laban exchanged the older for the younger. Do you see what happens here? So Laban agrees to give Rachel to Jacob in return for another 7 years of work. Now, when Jacob deceived his father and cheated his brother Esau, God didn't change his plan to choose Jacob to receive the birthright. That's a powerful thought, because God doesn't change his mind, even when we make mistakes. Instead, God took Jacob to the school of difficult experience to discipline him. Now, this shows that our disobedience may not derail God's plan for our lives, but it will greatly affect how we end up experiencing God's plan. You see, we might, like Jacob, spend 20 years working for someone like Laban while God teaches us a few lessons. Thanks for studying this chapter with me, and I hope you had a good time, Theos Bible Kids. And so stay tuned and like and subscribe for more videos.
Theos Bible Kids! Thanks for watching Theos Bible Kids.
See you next time. Bye.